Thank you. Secretary General, given the attacks in The Hague and given that you are acquiring these new cyber capabilities, will you respond in any way? Will you respond to Russia's cyber attacks? Thank you.
We are responding every day. And just the fact that this this attack by Russia on the International Organization for Prohibition of Chemical Weapons was disrupted shows that we are getting better at reacting to this kind of, or responding to this kind of cyber attacks. Getting better at providing the necessary attribution. And what happened today was that UK and the Netherlands has exposed what Russia, their military so intelligence services are actually responsible for doing many places in the world. So we are responding also by the ongoing strengthening of our cyber defenses, with the decision that we will integrate national cyber capabilities into NATO missions and operations, by the fact that we actually have decided that cyber can trigger Article 5, and also by the fact that as part of the new command structure we are establishing a new cyber operation center. So we are doing many things at the same time, and not least increasing the awareness around in the capitals when it comes to reacting to this kind of cyber attacks.
BBC at the back, Victor.
Yes, thank you very much, Secretary General Jonathan Marcus from the BBC. Two questions on this cyber issue. One, I think you referred to strengthening NATO's capacity to both defend and deter cyber attack. Deterrence implies having an offensive capability of your own. Surely an essential element of deterrence is having that capability and being able to deploy it. Could you comment on that? And secondly, you referred again to the idea that a cyber attack could trigger Article 5. Well, I mean, beyond a form of words, we've got documentary evidence from a number of countries in NATO that such attacks have been carried out. So what is the actual value of this Article 5 statement? I mean, where does it take us beyond what is being done at the moment?
So we will always act in and react in a proportionate way, and in accordance with international law. So we decide based on the situation, based on the character of what we see, the way we respond. Partly as different individual national allies which are reacting, and partly as an alliance when we act together. What we have seen is that we are significantly stepping up, and we have to remember that the attack they tried to launch against OPCW actually failed. They didn't succeed. So I think that shows that NATO allies and NATO have become stronger in reacting to this kind of attacks. Better intelligence, better at coordinating our intelligence. This was UK and Netherlands working together. NATO has established a new intelligence division also to be able to coordinate even better the way we collect, understand and analyze intelligence. And also the fact that we are helping allies with also sharing best practices, technology. We have large exercises, increasing awareness. All that helps to react. And then just the fact that we work together and also now have more and more allies we provide national cyber capabilities. All of that fits into this broader pattern of how NATO is adapting. And we also then decided at our summit to establish cyber as a domain, military domain, alongside land, sea and air. So how we react will be determined from case to case. The thing is that I think what we have seen is that we have been better at defending our systems, disrupting attacks, exposing attacks, and also being able to collect the necessary intelligence to disrupt attacks against our cyber networks.
Wall Street Journal, second row.
Dan Michaels, Wall Street Journal. Could you clarify on that, though? Do you see NATO as having offensive cyber capabilities? Thank you.
We have integrated national cyber capabilities. And I described what they can do. Because we have seen how national cyber capabilities have been used against, for instance, Daesh. We have been able to disrupt the cyber networks of Daesh, to reduce their ability to recruit, to fund, to communicate. These capabilities have been used by NATO allies against Daesh, and these are the same kind of capabilities we now are creating the framework to integrate into NATO missions and operations. So we call them national cyber capabilities. They have been used very effectively against Daesh, and I think it's important that we have those capabilities in NATO missions and operations when needed, because it's impossible to imagine any kind of military conflict in the future without a cyber dimension. And then, of course, we need many different kinds of cyber capabilities to have effective defenses and the right capabilities.
Ansa, lady second row.
Hi, Secretary General. I would like to ask you if there are steps forward with the Mediterranean hub, and if these steps forward open to the possibility of having trainings of security trainings in the Mediterranean, and, for example, in the future with Libya, and all with Libya. And also, I would like to ask you, since you discussed about burden sharing, if you've seen the plans of Italy to reach the target of 2%, and if you deem, if NATO deems that they are okay. Thank you.
The hub for the South is important to coordinate, to analyze, to improve our understanding of the threats and the challenges emanating from the South. And I welcome very much that we have been able to establish this now, and I think the work of the hub in Naples is of great importance for the whole alliance. NATO provides training. We do training and capacity building in Afghanistan, because we strongly believe that one of the best weapons we have in the fight against terrorism is to train local forces, enable them to stabilize their own country and to fight terrorism themselves. We are also now scaling up our presence in Iraq, and we are launching a training mission there. All of this is relevant for the challenges we face from the South. We are in dialogue with Libya. We are ready to provide help. We are not there discussing a military training mission, but we are looking into the possibilities of providing Libya with help to build their security and defense institutions, Ministry of Defense, so military commands, and so on, because you need that kind of military institutions to stabilize the country.
Washington Post. No, up there. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Michael Birnbaum from the Washington Post. Do the Russian cyber efforts that have been outlined today rise to the level of taking offensive cyber action in response to them? You've talked about the ways that NATO allies are responding, but you haven't talked about cyber offensive action. And what kind of cyber offense operations are NATO and NATO allies prepared to take to respond to what Russia is doing? Thank you.
So what we have seen today is that NATO allies are able to disrupt, to stop cyber attacks. And the best thing we can do is to strengthen our cyber resilience, our cyber defense, so we are able to prevent, stop, disrupt cyber attacks. And that was what we saw today. We have seen how UK, the Netherlands have exposed the Russian GRU cyber attacks against important international institutions, and how they were able to do that by using intelligence and their own cyber capabilities. So the best response is, of course, to be able to disrupt, stop these kind of attacks, and provide attribution and expose those who are behind these kind of cyber attacks. And that's what we have seen today. To strengthen that, we need to further improve our intelligence. We have established a new intelligence division, and we have become better in how we analyze, understand, and work when it comes to intelligence, both as individual NATO allies and as an alliance as a whole. When and if and how we will use our national cyber capabilities in NATO missions and operations, I think it would be very wrong if I started to speculate now about that. That will only create, what I say, unnecessary uncertainty. So we will decide when we use that in the different missions and operations, depending on the circumstances.
Associated Press.
Just a very quick one on the same subject. Lorne Cook, The Associated Press. Did any ally brief of a cyber attack on any military installation, or was it just these other ones that we've heard about, the more civilian, more organizational?
Today we were briefed by the UK and the Netherlands on the cyber attacks, which they have briefed also publicly about today, and which they were able to expose. But earlier, of course, we have been briefed about cyber attacks against military networks and military installations. That's actually something which is happening quite frequently. And that's one of the reasons why the main focus of NATO has been to strengthen the defenses of our own cyber networks, to be able to defend our forces out in Afghanistan or elsewhere in the world who are operating, because we need to protect our operations and missions and the cyber networks we are using there. So we have increased our ability to defend our own networks, and we also established what we call some cyber teams, which can be deployed out to different missions and operations, NATO forces, to help them strengthen their cyber networks and protection if needed.
Final question, Radio Free Europe. Yeah, up there. Thanks.
Rikard Josviak, Radio Free Europe. After the attacks in Salisbury, NATO responded by kicking out a few Russian diplomats and denying accreditation. Will there be a similar response this time after these attacks?
I think the main response has been, as I said, that NATO allies, UK and Netherlands, have been able to disrupt and stop these attacks. The Russian military intelligence, GRU, did not succeed. They failed in their attack. And that has been, that I think shows that we have strengthened our ability to attribute and to defend ourselves. And then it's an ongoing adaptation, ongoing strengthening of our cyber networks, our cyber defenses, our cyber resilience, with exercises, with higher awareness, with better technology, and all that, and that will continue. And then we will establish cyber as an independent, as a military domain, and we are also establishing the new Cyber Operations Center.
Thank you very much. This concludes this press conference. Thank you. I see Secretary Mattis is about to come on stage. So please stay in your places.
Thank you.